welcome back to Crafty Meraki's YouTube channel. My name is Aditi and today I am going to be playing with this new release Lily Artisan Flora die set, and I will be creating a mixed media style card. So I have watercolor paper here that I want to first color in with Lindys Magicals to create a custom colorful paper so that I can use that to later die cut my elements. I will be listing all the colors down in the description box just in case you want to know their names. But what I have done here is just put one piece of paper in my splatter box, and I am beginning with the shade of blue, going in with a little purple, teal and a little magenta. But before adding the pigment from the magicals, I have sprayed water on the paper, and that's why you see this beautiful gorgeous effect when I drop the pigment powders onto that misted paper. So they all start blending and flowing, and as and when needed I spray in more water and get all of that flowing, and then I go back in and sprinkle a little more powder. And once I'm happy with how it looks on one side, I am just repeating that same process to complete coloring this entire sheet of paper. I am bringing in the teal, the blue, again the purple, and wherever there's excess puddle, I am going to use my paper napkin and just blot that off, or I will spray water and get that to flow in the areas where there's nothing. So in that way I am completing the coloring of my paper for the flowers particularly, and I quite like how that looks, and I just add a little more magenta here and there to balance it out. And even the blend between the two colors really looks beautiful, creating a third shade of a bluish violet. So with that, this is a look at my piece of paper with all that shimmer and shine. And I'm going to set this aside and go ahead and do the same thing for the leaves. So I am again misting the paper with water and then picking pigment powder with the fan brush from the magicals and just sprinkling them. I am using two shades of green here to get that shading for the leaves that I want, creating a lighter and a darker green on the paper itself, and just blending it, sprinkling the powder, spraying it with water, and adding more pigment where necessary. So that's pretty much the process of creating this custom color paper for the die cut elements. So with one color down in place, I am just going back in, spraying water, getting all of that reactivated and flowing, and you can see how much more intense that pigment looks. And I will show you once this dries completely. But I'm just going back in with a little teal that I used for the flowers, just to create a little darker green, mixing it with these colors. So that is a look at the dried paper for the leaves. And now I am going to use the bigger die as well as the smaller die for the bud and the flowers. And I'm going to cut two sets of both of these from my blue purple paper. And then I am going to cut two sets of the leaves from my green paper. So that is a look at the lily layered and assembled, and that's what I want to do, create all of that depth and dimension when I'm layering and putting these pieces together. So beginning with the smaller one, what I am doing is placing smaller squares of foam tape underneath the die cut element using liquid glue and then adhering that layer onto the base. So with that I am able to create that depth, that dimension, making my flowers look more realistic and more dimensional. So just repeating that same process, I am adding foam tape and adhering the layers, and then just for the stem I don't need any foam tape as it is the topmost layer, so I will directly glue that over these other layers with liquid glue. So with that you can see how instantly it is easy to create depth and dimension, And for a card like this with mixed media layers and having colors flowing everywhere, I think this dimension just adds another level of detail and elevates the card, just makes it a little more special. So of course a card like this then cannot be sent in a regular mail. You need either like a shadow box, sort of an envelope, boxed envelope I mean, or you just have to give such cards by hand to whoever you want to. Now I'm repeating the same for the bigger lily. It's very easy to put because the layers of the petals just match the base. So first up there is this triangle. All of these pieces match perfectly with the triangle there, and I'm just using some foam squares, adding liquid glue and adhering that down to the base. So I have that triangle that I was talking about, and then my next piece matches the upper two remaining petals, so that's where that goes. So again I am going to bring in foam tape and bring in that depth and dimension that I want, and add all of that to the previous layer to start layering up and bringing this lily to life. So once that is down in place, I am then going to place the stamen. So I have two layers here and I've just alternated. I'm using one of the purple layer with one of the blue layer, and I did the same for the other flower that I already assembled earlier. So just adhering those two layers down, I am going to add glue just at the base of this piece and adhere that down and lift the stamen pieces up just to further enhance that depth and dimension and create a realistic bloom. So I then have the last petal left, so I'm just layering up my foam pieces to raise it up higher to cover and complete that flower. So that closes that stamen, and with that our flowers are all ready and assembled. Now I'm just going to release all the die cut pieces for the leaves, and this is pretty much easy. There are just layers for a few leaves and there is just that shadow layer. So I am going to adhere that down and again use foam tape to bring in dimension to the buds and adhere the leaf, the extra element for the leaf, just with liquid glue. So that way all the elements will then be assembled and I can then start working on my card background. So I am using the Speckled Canopy new release die with some ombre iridescent cardstock that I have here, and die cutting that layer with this iridescent cardstock. I then have a nice violet cardstock. I want to use that over my card base and then layer this die cut piece on top of that. So that is going to bring in the purple from the flowers and create enough contrast and again match up with the flowers for my background. And with this die and this iridescent paper, you need nothing else for the background. Again, our flowers are going to be our main focus. So just playing with the two flowers, I am going to start creating a composition, and as I go along, when I'm happy, I'm just using liquid glue and adhering all the layers down in place, filling spaces with the smaller flowers and then tucking in leaves. I do end up cutting some of the leaves into half and then tucking both the sides of the leaves just to create added leaves and layers and make this like a fuller bouquet card. So you can see I have used all the elements we prepped and it looks so rich, like it gives this illusion of a luxurious card, and I think this would definitely bring a smile on the receiver's face. So once I'm happy with all the layers and tucking in all the leaves and making sure that I have a good balanced composition, I am then going to use the sentiment hugs from Orchid Opulence. So I have mentioned this in my previous videos. I stamp and die cut and keep a bowl full of these sentiments so that when I'm making a card, I can just pick and adhere that. So I'm just anchoring that tiny sentiment there in between my bouquet, and I am completing it off with some white acrylic ink splatters just to enhance the texture and the color on these elements. So with that done, that is a closer look at this card today, and I really hope that this has inspired you to give mixed media a try and to create some dimensional blooms for yourself. Do leave your comments below. I love reading them. Until the next time, take care and bye bye.